retired Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. If I mispronounced your book title, sir, I'm very sorry.
That's okay. It's a tongue twister on purpose.
You got me on the book title.
Mathematics. Gentlemen mathematics.
Yeah, but you say that we should strike first. Why?
Well, look, Cheryl, obviously no sane person wants a war. If there were any other way, if someone can produce this magic formula at the last minute that will get North Korea to stand down, I am all for it. I would rather see my retirement investments drop than see bombs drop. But this is literally an existential issue for many Americans. And my argument is simply this, that we cannot, to soothe politically correct consciences, allow large numbers of Americans to die. We cannot allow a regime that explicitly and repeatedly, indeed constantly, threatens to attack us, to devastate us, to turn America into an inferno. We cannot allow that regime to have nuclear weapons that can be delivered to United States territory, period. They're not there yet, but they're closer and getting there faster than we thought they could. And so at some point, if it's a choice between dead North Koreans and dead Americans, I choose dead North Koreans.
Well, you know what's interesting here is that Russian President Vladimir Putin says that North Korea would rather eat grass than give up their nukes. Does that sound like there's room for negotiation to you?
Well, Putin would have been better put, say that the regime wouldn't mind its people eating grass to preserve its nuke program. The people of North Korea have been starved and battered and incarcerated and killed. The regime doesn't care about the people. What they want doesn't matter at all. And by the way, they have eaten grass during various famines. But this regime, Putin's right when it comes to the regime, they have now tied their survival to nuclear weapons. It's a much more brittle, hollow regime than people realize. The vaunted North Korean military is not nearly as good as its numbers suggest. Even the idea that Seoul is a hostage, is going to be devastated in the opening minutes of a war, is not necessarily so. So I think what we need in Washington is a fresh look. Get away from the received wisdom, which isn't very wise at all. Focus on what matters, which is protecting our people. And Cheryl, look, this is really very simple when it comes to moral and ethical aspects. If someone is pointing a gun in your face, walking toward you and screaming, "I'm going to kill you," you have the legal and ethical right to draw first and fire, or draw on him and fire and kill him.
Okay.
If someone is also aiming at your family, you have a moral responsibility to react. But right now, North Korea is aiming the gun in our face.
They are, but certainly the stakes are much higher than a one-on-one gun battle. And even Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State under G.W. Bush, said that the President Trump, is handling North Korea correctly. Listen to what she said.
No American president can tolerate a somewhat unhinged North Korean leader, because if he's not crazy, he is reckless. And what the administration is trying to do, and I support what they're trying to do, is they're painting a very bleak picture for the Chinese. That's the only country with any real leverage. What the administration is saying to them is, your choice now is either we do something about the North Korean problem or you do something about the North Korean problem. And hopefully that will get through the Chinese, because the military solutions here are not very pretty.
Okay, so is China the answer? Is China going to finally wake up and come to the table and realize that North Korea blown to bits is bad for the Chinese economy, bad for the Chinese people?
Well, for China to crack down on North Korea, its only military ally, would be a miracle on the order of the loaves and the fishes. And I think, President Trump, to his credit, at first he was taken in by President Xi of China. But now he's realized that Xi was playing him, that China's not helping, and indeed, Condoleezza Rice is right on every point. China is the only country that could possibly bring sufficient pressure on North Korea to stop it. But North Korea is their only ally, and they see us as China sees us as a long-term enemy. So we're asking them to help their enemy against their only ally. I have trouble believing it'll happen, but we can always hope. But while we're hoping, we need to prepare to do what it takes to devastate North Korea's nuclear capability.
Well, you've got more than 28,000 U.S. troops that are currently serving in South Korea, so we have a presence there, and it may be a larger presence before we know it. Colonel Ralph Peters, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.